Hi everybody, keep an eye on the storms for you. And I'm trying to get the WAFF 48 Facebook app right here, and I can't get it to open on the computer, unfortunately. So what I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna try to see if I can read some of your comments just from my phone. I'll try to keep an eye on both, but I wanna go over everything that's happening right now. I have some good news though about the storms. The severe thunderstorm warning remains in effect, and I'll show you the radar here right now, for portions of northwest Madison County, and then also portions of eastern Limestone County. It's the only warning that we have, but if you look closely, and I'll zoom in here quickly, what you'll see is the number of lightning strikes. Look how quickly this storm is weakening right now. The number of lightning strikes with it has backed off tremendously in just the last minute or two, which tells me that the storm is starting to rain itself out. It's still a big time rainmaker for Harvest up towards the Ardmore Twins, moving away from Huntsville, moving into Madison now, especially if you're along 72. Some very heavy rainfall there, but the storm itself has weakened significantly and probably not producing gusty winds in excess of 60. The warning on this should be dropped here soon, and therefore a good trend here in the last 2 or 3 minutes, which is fantastic. But not the only player in town though. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the pause button. I'm going to zoom out. We still have a cluster. Let me go over here first. We have a couple of viewers in Bridgeport letting me know that it was raining there, and it was. You have this one little cell, very, very isolated just along the Tennessee-Alabama line, and that is over in the Bridgeport area right here, and that is drifting north. And then off to the south and west into Decatur, you're starting to get into some heavy rainfall. And there's also another little pocket of heavy rain in the Somerville, Priceville, Hartselle area, pretty much where the three towns meet. But the other area of concern that I'm watching is right in the Moulton area where you're getting crushed with some vivid lightning, dangerous cloud to ground lightning right in here. Let me take all the lightning strikes off for a moment so you can actually see the word molten, because the lightning strikes were just covering you up. Tremendous amount of lightning here, which tells me that this storm in Lawrence County is actually the one that's becoming the stronger storm at this point. Would not be surprised if a warning gets issued for Lawrence County here shortly. Now, the overall movement of these storms is not your typical west to east fashion. I'll put this in motion, and you can see everything is drifting east to west. So what the storms are doing is they're building off outflow boundaries, and they're just building off each other. And what happens is in the end, you'll end up getting like this big, huge cluster of storms, and it all becomes one eventually. And that's essentially what's happening right now, is that most of the activity is becoming one to the north. And then you have that extra cell in Lawrence County, which is completely separate. And that one too is going to become one big cell. So if you are not where you see the rain falling, you're just hot and humid. You know, the main headline today was feel like temperatures over 100. We accomplished that. And now we've cooled some of the air with some of the thunderstorms, but the humidity is still really high. And when you have high humidity, that's going to contribute to one, heavy, heavy rainfall. And also the potential for some dangerous lightning with the storms. They become very electric. And that's what's been happening for the afternoon when these storms all started to fire up. Hey, I got the 48 page all set up. There we go. It's working. There we go. So storms themselves, severe yesterday. We had a severe thunderstorm warning on Saturday for about 5 minutes in Madison County. And then it weakened and it rained itself out. And like an hour later, there was nothing on the radar. That's very similar to what's going to happen here this evening, where you see all these areas of rainfall that are heavy at times, all the lightning you see in Moulton. Yeah, all this is like literally going to just like a magic wand in like an hour, poof, and everything's going to be gone. And once these start to rain themselves out, it will remain humid and muggy overnight with temperatures in the mid 70s. Don't see anything happening overnight, just some patchy fog. And then we do it all over again for the upcoming week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. This is a repeat forecast as we continue to deal with heat and humidity. And at any given time during the afternoon hours, Monday through Friday, this is exactly what can happen. You can have some pop-up, not just showers and thunderstorms, but also some tremendous downpours that could be associated with most of the activity. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you too the velocity. I'm going to take the lightning out for just a minute because it's just so much of it down towards Moulton. But in this area here, I was looking at the velocity earlier, and the winds looked like there was some 45, 50 mile an hour winds. But right now, there is really nothing with the winds. This has become just essentially a big old rainmaker with some lightning in the Harvest area and up towards Ardmore. If you're driving on 53 from Ardmore to Harvest, you're going to hit a lot of heavy rain for sure, but nothing in the way of any kind of winds or any kind of large hail or anything like that. But this area in Moulton definitely needs to be watched. This is the area in Lawrence County right now that probably not only does it have all this lightning associated with it, but it's the strongest cell by far. And you can see right there, South Moulton, especially in the Wren area right now, I imagine you have some pretty strong gusty winds. This is not picking up on much in the way of wind, but I can tell you right now, just based, let me see here, let me go to the velocity. I had the wrong thing up. I still don't have much wind, but I see the winds are probably about 40 miles an hour. I want to zoom in even more so I can get a little bit closer. So County Road 181, County Road, that's Alabama Highway 33 from Wren to Moulton. This is where you'd have some stronger winds, but even the velocity is not even showing much in the way of really strong winds, probably why it's not warned. But still a heavy rainmaker and a lot of lightning with this. So, but all this activity that you see here is going to wind down here shortly. Certainly another day with heavy rainfall, but we had our hottest day of 2025 yesterday. Many locations made a run at it again today. And anytime you have a summer-like pattern where you have a lot of daytime heating, you have a lot of humidity, it doesn't take much to lift the air and get some thunderstorms. And that's what we had here today. The overall coverage, a little more today than it was yesterday, but the overall impact more localized than widespread. I mean, you had a couple downpours in Florence when I first came into work about 2:30. Once those moved out, it was just hot and humid for you most of the day. Areas like in DeKalb County haven't even had a drop of rain so far. Marshall County, so far, not much. I think there was a slight shower near Albertville earlier, but that pretty much dissipated quickly. Coleman County, where you had some rain yesterday, nothing for you. It's really been isolated to the metro area of Huntsville, Athens, and Decatur, and then north of 72 up towards the Tennessee state line. There's your severe thunderstorm warning for Lawrence County. I figured that is now the strongest cell, and that was the reason why the warning was dropped for areas in Madison County and Limestone County, but the National Weather Service has now turned their attention to the storm in Lawrence County. We just were talking about this. This would become probably the one that will become warned, and there it is. 60-mile-an-hour winds. I didn't see that in the velocity, but still could be some damaging winds and obviously some heavy rainfall and some dangerous lightning. This impacts eastern Franklin County as well, as the warning has been extended all the way almost up into Phil Campbell and along 24 into portions of Franklin County. The cells right now, all these little pockets of rain, they're hardly moving. I'll put this back up again and you can see the motion here. Literally moving at 5 miles per hour. So what does that mean for you at home? It means, one, they're moving really slowly. And two, what happens is when you have a lot of heavy rainfall within a cell like this, so it's pouring in Moulton right now, right, coming down. A lot of times if you get these storms and they're moving at like 40 or 50 miles an hour and they rip across the county, it pours and it moves on and you're good to go. But what's happening is when these cells move this slowly, they just keep raining in the same spot over and over and over. And we have a flash flood warning that was issued already for the storms up towards northwest Madison County and Limestone County. 1 to 2 inches of rain fell very quickly and has prompted a flash flood warning where we have some flooded roads. That is the problem with these storms when they pulse up like this. They don't have a lot of movement to them. There's not a lot of air movement going on. So the storms themselves move very slowly. They just trickle themselves across the area and they can produce heavy rainfall and continue to produce heavy rainfall from most locations. And it just doesn't stop. It just keeps on coming down. The faucet is turned on full blast and you can get some flash flooding. And that's what's happening now in Lawrence County. No flash flood warning issued yet for Lawrence County, but I imagine if it continues to drift slowly and still produce the rainfall that it's showing there, we'll have some flash flooding there too. So, no rain here, but could rain at any time. Christine Tinker, I know where you live. You're good. I think you're okay in the northeast corner of beautiful Bryant. You should be all right. Courtney says, pouring in Melton and so windy. Yes, very much so, Courtney. The cell itself is now the strongest one. The storm that was up towards Madison County and Limestone County, as I mentioned when I first came on to the live, that storm was weakening significantly. But Dee, I appreciate the update and letting me know that it was canceled. I had talked about that before it was even canceled, but I appreciate that. The rainfall itself, actually another area to watch too is that lightning strike in the Hartselle area too. Obviously, Moulton is the main player in Lawrence County as that drifts to the west. But also, let me pause this for a moment. In this area right here, I'm going to keep an eye on that too. A lot of lightning strikes just pop up with that too in the Priceville area and also into Hartselle as it drifts off to the west too. Some rain falling in Decatur. I don't think you have any wind with that. There's another pocket of heavy rain in the Hackleburg, Haleyville area. Rain continues to fall northwest Huntsville back into Athens, but that storm, again, weakening significantly. It was doing that when I started the live and therefore not a threat anymore. So, June says, why is the weather moving east to west? Does it usually move west to east? June, that's a great question. And yes, you're exactly right. It does usually move west to east. What's happening, though, is the airflow with these storms, as the overall upper level pattern is east to west. So when these outflow boundaries develop off these storms, what they're doing is they're fueling storms to the west of the actual main player. And then you get the building process of continuing off to the west. And they have a very east to west orientation that moves very slowly, about 5 miles per hour. But you're exactly right. It usually does move west to east. And you are right on with that. It's a good observation. Amanda says it's cloudy and thundering in Stevenson, no rain. Yeah, it's because that cell's not near you. You hear it, but it's drifting. This one right here in Stevenson, you are way far away from it, and it's moving into Tennessee, so it's not coming towards you. But you're going to hear it, and might even see some distant lightning. It's still daylight, so you might not see it. But James Clark lets me know it's still raining in Tony. Yes, it is. Still some rain there. Luckily, though, weakening big time, which is good news there. Mainly just some rainfall. Scott asked the same question. Why are they moving west? Yep. They did yesterday too. The storm fired up in Huntsville yesterday and then moved towards Madison and moved towards Toyota Field. And I probably sure had everybody for Trash Panda Nation pulling their hair out because it was another rain delay at the game yesterday. They got the game in today. They came up short, but no rain delay at Toyota Field. They were able to get the game in, which was good. Barry says it's still raining in Athens. Yes, it's still raining in Athens, but that cell is not severe anymore and it's weakening, which is good news. But yes, still some rain falling in Athens, still some rain falling anywhere you see the yellow, green, and red. But the biggest player and the strongest storm right now is in Lawrence County with a tremendous amount of lightning, mainly on the south side of Moulton at this time. And then you have another area of thunderstorm activity with some lightning popping in the Hartselle area, right along 31 and 65. That'll be an area to keep an eye on too. Anytime you start to see the tick in lightning go up, like right here and right here, those are the areas that we're watching as they continue to drift to the west. And again, just like the cell that was actually severe here, that's now become mainly a big rainmaker for Tony, Harvest, up towards Ardmore, and now into Athens. That weakens so quickly, it just essentially rains itself out and becomes non-severe very quickly. But at the peak, it's producing some very heavy rain and gusty winds, and that's what we had when we were on air. So, Jason says got some wind in Decatur. Probably a little wind, probably more on the south side of the city than on the north side, but probably not severe. Probably more like 20, 30 mile an hour winds, maybe. Angela says it's dark in Triana, like in Triana, a little dark in Triana to rain. Yeah, there's a little downpour on the other side of the river from you that you probably see. Yeah. No love for WKAC. Shane, I see you. I got you, buddy. I didn't mean to skip over it. What I see is rapid fire comments, so if I miss it, I didn't mean to. I'm trying to do the best I can, man. So WKAC, lots of love for WKAC. We love you guys. We know that. And we appreciate it. It's always good to see you on. Thank you. Stephen talking about checking the storm since they're live. Yeah, we're just keeping an eye on the storm in Lawrence County. Overall impact right now has been mainly just some heavy rainfall. We had some strong gusty winds at one point. I have not received any damage reports from any winds in Madison County. No power outages reported. There's some wind. There you go. East Lawrence in the area of the 3200 County Road of 316 have some trees, multiple trees down and power lines, and that was reported to 911. So the first real damage report we've had doesn't come from the storms that were in Madison County or Limestone County, but it comes from that player in Lawrence County near Moulton, where we have some power lines down, just reported to 911. That's on County Road 316. I'm going to take you back into Lawrence County. Again, this is the strongest cell right now. Take you into some of the roads where we have some of the heaviest of rainfall falling. And this is in the Wren area. This is right on Alabama Highway 33 if you've ever driven on County Road 9. This is where you have the severe thunderstorm warning. and it's also going to impact County Road 181. This takes you up towards Market Street, right into downtown Moulton. Again, Muck City, County Road 460. The heaviest wind or the heaviest rain and the strongest winds are probably affecting more like south and southwest Moulton towards the Wren area, and that extends south. And that heavy rain goes all the way down south of Speak, mainly areas down towards like County Road 76 and then County Road 33 to the south. So this is the main player. This is your strongest cell right now. I'm going to put the lightning back on. Keeping an eye on that cell near Priceville. For those of you in the Hudson, in the Madison and Limestone area, this is just rain for you now. It's no longer severe. So I'll break it down into sections because everybody wants to know about their particular town. Rain here, that's all you have. Little rainmaker right along the state line there into Jackson County. That's drifting into the Franklin County area of Tennessee. Not severe. Downpour south of the river, south of Triana. Another little cluster of thunderstorms near Hartselle that I'm keeping an eye on because it has an uptick in lightning. Rain in Decatur, yes, but nothing severe. Strongest storm here in Lawrence County and Moulton, and another little downpour as you work your way out towards Double Springs and Hamilton along 43, just to the east of 43. So that breaks down where all the rain is falling right now, and also keeping an eye on the potential for maybe a little bit more development right here in the Priceville area. That's the one area of concern that's not warned at this time. The severe thunderstorm warning box includes parts of Lawrence County and eastern portions of Franklin County in Alabama, and that is a cell that's drifting to the west at about 5 miles per hour, producing some heavy rainfall and also some gusty winds. The warning is for 60-mile-an-hour winds, but I have a very strong feeling that the winds are probably more like 40 to 50. But we have had a report of some damage, trees down on County Road 360, and also a power line down too. So. D says, got some road flooding in Harvest. Yep, that's the flash flood warning that I talked about when I first came on to Weather Extra 2, my friend. Flash flood warning for parts of areas of Madison County and Limestone County. Flash flood warning because there was about 1 to 2 inches of rain in a very short period of time. And there was some reports of flooding not only in the Harvest area, but also into northwest Huntsville too, coming down 53 onto Jordan Lane. Shane, appreciate you too, my friend. If I missed your comment, I apologize. They come in and I'm bouncing back and forth off the actual 48 page. And then I also turn my attention over to the radar to my left. You can't see me, obviously. So I do apologize if I missed your comment. I'm very sorry about that. Lovely Heart, that's a beautiful name. Just rained real heavy in East Lawrence County. It sure did. That's actually moving west. And that's that big blinking yellow box that you see there on the radar. And it's moving away from you, which means the rain's moving out of here, which is good. Loretta, I'll put this in motion for you. She's asking which way is the rain moving. We've all been talking about it here on weather, on the streaming, not on Weather Extra yet, but streaming. But see how everything's moving east to west, or maybe even a little northeast to southwest. That's the general direction. Starting to see a little bit more development in Lawrence County off to the south and west. So into portions of like Double Springs and Grayson and Haleyville and Hackleburg, a little bit more of an uptick with lightning there. And that's where the outflow boundary from that cell in Lawrence County is actually helping produce storms preceding it. So as it drifts to the south and west and starts to rain itself out, you're going to see more development to the south. And eventually what will happen is the Lawrence County thunderstorm right here will become nothing, and they'll have more storms here. This one, the first one right here, will rain itself out, and then this one will take over. My diagrams are so good. My drawing is awesome. And when I put this in motion, it goes back until like, 5:05. You can see where the severe thunderstorm warning was at one point in Madison County, and see how fast that storm weakened? It's literally like turning on a switch. Poof. You turn it off, the storm loses all its lightning, loses all its wind, and it starts to rain itself out. That's exactly what we had yesterday. So, Lily, Newmarket is definitely safe. You're good. Yeah, you're okay. These storms, there's no tornadic activity with this. I was doing Weather Extra at 4:30, and I'm in there, and the first thing everybody says is tornadoes. It's not tornadoes. It's just some rain and some wind is all it is. But the wind can cause damage and can produce some power outages. And you got to remember too, we've had so much rainfall the last month and a half. Some of the the trees, like, at their bases, it's called tree rot. We did a story on it and I found it quite fascinating, but the trees are more vulnerable to gusty winds right now and toppling over. That was an awesome story. But anyway, you learn something every day. And that, it seems like every time we have a thunderstorm or we have some kind of gusty winds, even if they're just 40 or 50 miles an hour, it seems like we're getting numerous reports of trees down every time we have some kind of weather event. And maybe that's a cause of it. Maybe because the trees had so much rain, it makes it easier for them to fall over. I mean, it makes sense to me. Logically, it makes sense, right? Krista says, where are you, Krista? Where'd you go? Me and my family, we have a power outage. Krista, can you tell me where you are? That would help me out tremendously if you could tell me where you are. If you don't want to, that's okay, but that would help me out because I'd love to know where that power outage is. Pam says, welcome. Jim says, time for a heat advisory to be issued Tuesday through Tuesday of next week. Yeah, I don't know. Joy, that's a great thing to bring up. So it's always very frustrating from a TV side of things because we don't issue the heat advisories or the excessive heat warnings. And it's very hard to explain to people when like 3 counties are included, but everybody's hot and humid. I try when I'm on air this morning to let everybody know, even if you're not in the heat advisory, you are going to be hot and you are going to be humid. I imagine more heat alerts will be issued for the week ahead, and it will include more of the Tennessee Valley. As feel-like temperatures this week, we're not even at the hottest point of the forecast. That doesn't come until Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and the feel-like temperatures could get as high as 105 and 107. Is that odd for the Tennessee Valley? No, it's expected in the summertime, but we haven't really had much in the way of heat and humidity so far this year. Temperatures have actually been below average. We've had a lot of clouds and rain, so this is the first real stretch of extended heat and humidity for the area. So can already tell you too, I'm going to go ahead and put the number of lightning strikes up. When I first came on for this weather stream update, there was 362 lightning strikes, and it was just on the cells that were in the Tennessee Valley. Obviously, you can see how much of a difference we have since we started at 5:30, right? It's 5:55 now, and in a matter of 20 minutes, we've cut the number of lightning strikes back. They've transitioned from Madison County and Limestone County to the cell in Lawrence County, which is still your strongest cell right now. That is now drifting. It says west at 5 miles per hour, but see how it's starting to have that slight southerly drift to it? That's where the outflow boundary is producing more in the way of storms off to the south and west of it. And what's happening is the main player in Lawrence County is actually like feeding its energy this way, and you're going to have more storms develop out here, and this one's going to actually start to fizzle out. And pretty much how these play out, they did yesterday, they'll do that again today. In Huntsville, it's mainly dry unless you live in northwest Huntsville. Still keeping an eye on this little cluster here near Hartselle. Not severe or anything like that, but some heavy rain and has some lightning with it, maybe a little more lightning than some of the other downpours outside of that one severe thunderstorm warning. But that's the only thing that we're kind of keeping an eye on. Krista says, County Road 568. I appreciate that. There you go. So Krista has no power at County Road 568. Just got to take a little drink, everybody. I'm losing my voice, and I apologize. All right. Beverly, I didn't even open my drapes this morning. Too much heat coming in. Beverly, you know what? That's not a bad move right there, right? I always tell people this, and I say this all the time on the stream. You know, everybody has their own threshold of tolerance when it comes to heat. You know, I'll talk to somebody and they're like, yeah, it's going to be hot and humid. It's summer, whatever. I'm going to go run a marathon. Well, you know what? Good for you. You're in shape. That's awesome. Wonderful. I'm not in shape. I can't do that. But I can tell you this, there are other people who just say, I'm just going to stay inside and be in the AC all day. And it just comes down to knowing your own body and knowing your own threshold for heat. You know, if it bothers you a lot, you pull the drapes in, don't even go outside. That's okay. You know, we are in a judgment-free zone here, everybody. You do what you have to do to deal, right? Michael in Athens, I think that is. You just got some light rain. You're fine. There's nothing going on for you. You had a stronger cell near you when we first started this stream back at 5:30, and that has weakened. So you just have some rain. You're good. Hi, Diana. You're in the Madison-Triana area. Thank you. You're good, too. Nothing going on there. Everything's moving away from you now. And if you don't live in Southwest Morgan County or Lawrence County in Alabama, you're good, everybody. Everybody's just going to have a little rain for the evening where you see the green and yellow to the north. So right now, this area right here, I'm going to pause this for a moment, everybody. I'm sorry. This is just rain. It's got a little thunder and lightning, but some heavy rain, but not severe. A couple showers here. Even this is weakening already too. You can see the amount of lightning. Well, I won't say weakening fast, but it's definitely weakening because you don't have there's not nearly as much lightning with it when we first started. No, Diana, there's no risk for tornadoes. Shelly, Molten, 5-point area, just dark sky. A lot of thunder for the past 30 minutes for some, but no rain yet. Enjoying the cool breeze. Shelly, thank you. That's an awesome update right there, and I really appreciate that. And the 5-point area in Molten, if I'm correct, and I'm going to do a little search real quick, but I'm pretty sure that would verify what I was just talking about, where some of the heaviest rain is. Let me see here. I know my Molten area very well. I'm down there quite a bit. Yeah, so that makes complete sense. So what's happening, Shelly, for you in the 5 points area, which I do believe is Eastern Molten, right? This storm hasn't really affected East Molten the entire time. So what's happened is I do believe you are over here, and you hear and see all this to your west, but you said you didn't have any rain, right? So that would tell me that you're in the east side of Molten, because it's been mainly south and southwest Molten that has had the heaviest of rainfall so far. And that's another great point to bring up, is when you have, like, we call them these like pulse thunderstorms that fire up in the afternoon. Literally, you can live in Northwest Huntsville and get soaked, but if you're at the Arsenal, it could be sunny and completely dry. You know, it is so localized and so isolated, and that's what can happen when you have these summertime thunderstorms. Beverly says, yes, I agree, and my dog does not stay out for long, does her business and wants back in. Yeah, you know, pups, keeping the pets safe during severe heat can certainly be a priority. It is in my life. I have 2 dogs, and I try to take very good care of them. And I know their threshold when they go outside of how long they want to stay outside. And then they tell me they want to go in, and they go in right away. And I'm totally good with that. Just going to get an update really quick. I'm just going to check the National Weather Service page and what their thought process is, Lawrence County. Sorry, everybody. So the Lawrence County severe thunderstorm warning goes until 6:45 p.m. That's probably going to be cut short eventually. Not going to be cut short right this minute, but 6:45, I would think that this thing's going to have itself pretty much rained out at that point, but we'll see what happens. Ashley says Landersville and Molten is pouring. It sure is. Do you have any wind though, Ashley? That's what I want to know. That's curiosity right now, because I don't see a lot of wind with that, and that's why it's a warned sell right now for winds over 60 miles an hour, or technically 58, 57. But I don't see much wind on the velocity, but if you could tell me, Ashley, if you have any wind in the Molten area, that would be great. I know it's loud, I know it's bright, and I know it's wet, but I want to know if it's windy. And I don't see that happening, but I would love it if you could send me an update. It's always great to have people from Molten watching us. I go down to the Molten area quite a bit. Mariah is on, and she says, downtown Molten, the rain is easing up. Awesome update, and I cannot thank you enough. And that's because it's moving away from the center of town, and now it's impacting areas mainly south and west of Molten. South of Hatton now, it's actually probably more of an impact for really truly southwestern Lawrence County at this point, as it continues to move away from the Molten area, away from the Speak area. And besides that little downpour in the Hartselle area on 31, there's really not a lot going on, everybody. So whatever fired up is starting to weaken and diminish. If you're going out this evening, or you're going to take a little walk on the back patio for a moment after the rain's moved out, your temperature may have dropped a bit with the storms, but the air is still going to be disgusting when you go outside. It's going to be really humid when you go out. This rain is only going to add to that. So Mariah says the wind isn't really that bad either, and that's exactly what I wanted to hear, and I appreciate that update, because I don't see very strong winds with that right now. I see a lot of lightning and heavy rainfall, but that does not warrant a severe thunderstorm warning. So I would imagine that the warning will be dropped here shortly. Barry's telling me that in Athens already starting to clear, which is good. I had the Athens camera up moments ago, but I don't have that graphic set up right now, so I'm a slacker. Lovely Heart says no wind in East Lawrence. Rain is almost gone. Great update. All you're doing is just continuing to verify what I'm saying, which makes me very happy, and I thank you. Dylan says East Lawrence by Freeman, Kirby, a lot of damaged trees and lines down. And that's where, Dylan, we had some reports of some trees down and power lines down just moments ago. And yeah, and that's where we've had really the only damage reports with any kind of thunderstorm across the Tennessee Valley so far today. And that looks like the storm in Lawrence County ended up being the strongest out of all the warned cells, I do believe. Now, there were some heavy rainmakers, don't get me wrong, to the north, but that's a great update, Dylan. I appreciate that. Shawnee says the Wren Aldridge Grove area blew the floats right across the yard. Yeah, Shawnee, how fast do you think those winds were going? About 40, 50 miles an hour, you think? That was when the storm was at its strongest. It's starting to weaken now. But yeah, I mean, I think overall, when that storm first went severe, when the warning was issued in Lawrence County, those winds were probably ripping about 50, 60 miles an hour for sure. Dylan says, cars under trees and houses damaged. Yeah, Dylan, I don't know if it's safe where you're at right now, but if you're seeing stuff like that, if you could, I don't want you to get hurt. I want you to be safe, but could you send pictures of that? Because that sounds very serious. So if you could send any kind of verification of that would be fantastic. Ashley says wind was making rain twist and turn for 10 to 15 minutes, but just wind now. Yeah, wind-blown rainfall moving horizontally. You start to see that with some of the thunderstorms for sure. Ashley says it wasn't a high wind though. Okay, and that goes back to probably more like a 40, 45 mile per hour wind, maybe 30. Kendra says the wind was something serious in here in Landersville. Shawnee, or Kendra, when you say serious, like, was it like knocking trees on houses kind of serious? Or was it just blowing the rain around and making it go sideways? Just anything. If you could let me know what you think, that would be great. Kendra, Shawnee says the wind was sideways. Ruth, nothing here in West Athens. No. Ruth, you had some rain by you. And you actually, you know what, Ruth? You actually had a very strong thunderstorm just to your east the entire evening, and it now fizzled out. And now you're good. So you timed that well. You came on, you're like, I got nothing. And a lot of you have had nothing. Let me just rephrase this really quick. Is when you have these like isolated storms, and I try to emphasize that when I was on this morning, was more of you are going to stay dry than get wet. It actually played out more than I thought it was going to. But most of the time I'll be talking about these storms, and I'm on here talking about the storm in Moulton right now. And some of you are at home going, dude, I don't even have any rain. What is this guy talking about? I get it. I know how it works. But you got to understand too, I've worked in a lot of different TV stations and a lot of markets. This market we cover here in the Tennessee Valley, the coverage area is ridiculously huge. And we cover from the Mississippi state line to the Georgia state line. Questionable how far south we go, but we cover all the way down to Coleman and Aniana. And then all the way north, I mean, we've talked about storms at times all the way up into Shelbyville, which is definitely the Nashville market. So this is a large area to cover. So what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. What happens in Moulton right now is not happening in Albertville. And that happens all the time. And that's why when somebody says, where are these storms going to fire up in the afternoon? Guess got to kind of nowcast it. And that's what we did here today. Jumped on it when the storms fired up in the Huntsville area. And now the main player is still in Lawrence County. So Tammy says, Caddo had high wind and rain. There's trees down. Thank you for that update. I appreciate that, Tammy. That's the area that we are getting reports of some trees down. And I do appreciate that. And I'm going to let the newsroom know about your updates too. Shelby says, is Fayetteville getting anything? You kind of had something already. You had a severe thunderstorm warning about an hour ago. And obviously you missed it. And so you're good. And now you're all set. Nothing in Fayetteville. Ashley says, rain on 33 close to Bankhead has calmed down, still thundering a little. That's because the storm's moving away from you and starting to lose its oomph a little bit. Still has a lot of lightning with it, though, and heavy rainfall. And that's the one area that we've had some damage reports coming in from Lawrence County. And some trees down and some power lines down. Somebody's saying that there's trees on cars and that. I would love to see some pictures of that because that sounds like it's really bad. But no reports like that coming into the National Weather Service, though. Kendra says it was ripping pretty good. Everything still seems to be in place, thank goodness. That's good news, Kendra. I appreciate that. That's very good news. Ashley says the yard is flooded. Yeah, a lot of rain. they're producing like 1 to 2 inches of rainfall, like that, like it's fast. And that's what we had here in Huntsville, and parts of the parkway were flooded. I could see it on the camera. The cars were almost crawling on the parkway when the rain was coming down. Robert says, we had several big trees fall in Limestone where I live. Robert, do you have an exact location of that so I can report that to the National Weather Service? I would appreciate that so much if you could let me know where that is at. I know sometimes you don't want to give out like your exact location, but if you have several big trees down in the Limestone County where you live, I would love to report that to the National Weather Service so I can let them know. Do you have power? Is your power out? Have you lost power in your area? So if you could let me know, Robert, that would be fantastic. And if you don't feel comfortable putting it on the chat, you can always message me on my Facebook page too. I'll check that in a little bit. But if any of you have any kind of storm reports or any kind of wind damage, or like somebody was saying, trees on cars, like, I mean, that's pretty serious. So if that's true, you know, just let me know where you're at. And if you can send a picture to verify it so I can let the National Weather Service know. Unfortunately, the National Weather Service gets a lot of updates and a lot of reports that are false. So we try to make sure we weed those out, but I appreciate the effort and I appreciate the time to tell me what's going on. And Robert says in the North Lindsay Lane area is where he has some damage. I'm just going to look that up really quick. You think I would know what the North Lindsay Lane area is. North Lindsay Lane, Lindsay Lane. That puts you right by the Bojangles, if I remember correctly. Yep, right by 72. All right. I'm going to take your information, Robert, and I'm just going to report it. I'm still here. I'm just typing this up. Anybody? Just bear with me for just a minute. Several big trees. I want to pipe that down. All right. Robert, I have reported what you told me to the National Weather Service. And while I was reporting that, I'm happy to say that the amount of lightning strikes with that cell in Lawrence County that has a history of some wind damage has now backed off. And there's just a little cluster of lightning, which tells me that storm is weakening, which is good. Scholar doesn't have any damage or any reports. That's helpful. Thank you. Kelsey, is Elkmont expected to have more heavy rain? Our yard is flooded. No. No, Kelsey, you're done with the heaviest of rain. That has all come to an end. Scholar, you're clear. You never were really in jeopardy tonight in Athens. You're all right, buddy. Robert says north of 251. North of 251. Yep, I got you. I know exactly where that is. Let me just do it. Actually, I'm reading what I'm doing, everybody. I'm quiet because I'm reading the National Weather Service. So they're talking about how, like, even though the rainfall rates have backed off, they're going to keep the flash flood warning going in effect for the areas in Western Madison County, Eastern Limestone County from the deluge of the gully washer we had earlier. But some of the gauges are actually showing up to 3-4 inches of rainfall now. So, you know, that's a sizable amount of rain very quickly. So, Robert, thank you for the update too. I put it into the National Weather Service. North of 251. I know exactly the area where that's at, actually. And you're actually not near the Bojangles. You're a little bit more north of the Bojangles. I always gauge where things are by fast food. Sorry. Jessica, no tornadoes. No, it's fine. This is just the thunderstorms. that are just producing some heavy rain. The one in Lawrence County is weakening a bit, and I imagine that severe thunderstorm warning is going to come to an end shortly. And so therefore, what I'm going to do is I'm going to end the stream. At this point, nothing really, the damage has already happened in Lawrence County. The strongest of winds have already taken place. The heaviest of rain now falling in Lawrence County on the radar here. A couple pockets of downpours in Hartselle, but the lighter rain north. I mean, ultimately, this is all shifting southwest and will rain itself out here shortly. Don't think there's really any need to stay on for the stream at this point. The warning, I imagine, which goes till 6:45, will be cut short and therefore improving conditions. So. April Jordan. That's funny. All right, I'm going to wrap this up. I'm going to go let my good friend Tatiana know that we're going to end the stream right now. She does a great job out there in digital and make sure that I can come on here and give you all updates. The severe thunderstorm warning has actually been trimmed back to southern Lawrence County, and the next step will be to end the severe thunderstorm warning here shortly, I imagine, as the storms will start to weaken. Any rain that we had this afternoon will dissipate. And just remember, the heat and the humidity, that's going to continue all the way through the week. So a very summer-like pattern will continue as we go into Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Be safe, everybody. Have a good night.